Hey guys, Perry here. Patch 7.3 is coming up in a couple of weeks, and that means it's time for my slightly late battle plan for which hills to financially die on while predicting the market board future. That's right, it's time for this patch's crafter prep guide. If you're not familiar with my previous guides on this topic, this video will be all about the items we can currently prepare in-game that will be heavily used in the upcoming new recipes being added in 7.3. This means existing items that are currently cheap will likely see a spike in demand when the patch drops, so it's better to prepare ahead. As usual though, this information is based on previous patch data and experience. There's always a chance that Yoshi P decides to shake things up a bit and try something my crystal ball can't predict, so keep that in mind before going all in and risking financial doom. Don't worry though, if you end up in a cardboard box in the slums of Alamigo, we could be neighbors. That said, let's dive into it. 7.3 is slated to bring us a complete new set of crafter and gatherer gear, both left and right side. This new gear set will be Dawntrail's equivalent of Endwalker's Indicator gear set, released in patch 6.3. 7.3 is also bringing along a new Cosmic Exploration Zone, which means this gear will likely be relevant for content immediately, increasing the demand for items needed to make the new high tier sets. Expected alongside this are going to be some new materials and Aether Sand being added to the game, as well as some new crafter and gatherer food for us to use. So, we need to prepare with these things in mind. Here is the overall list of items I recommend collecting. For the rest of the video, I'll go through each item and explain my reasoning for why it'll likely be needed, and also talk about the quantities I recommend. On the list, we have patch 7.2 Precrafts, Condensed Solution, Purple Scrip Collectibles, and Materia. At the end, I will also talk a little about items we don't expect to need this patch and why. The rest of this video will go into details on each of these items and how to prepare them. For a quick reference on quantities, you can find a link to my Teamcraft prep list for this patch in the video description below. So, we'll start at the top. The first item on this patch's list is the Precrafts. These items were introduced in patch 7.2 as the items used to make the combat gear. Looking back at the Endwalker and Shadowbringer's equivalents to the upcoming gear, those items also reused the 0.2 patch items for Precrafts, so we can expect the same in a few weeks. You can find the approximate quantities of what will be needed in my patch prep Teamcraft list. These tend to vary a bit between equivalent gear sets, so these are likely a little bit more than what will actually be needed. But these are what I'm preparing just to be safe. As usual, make sure these items are high quality. The new crafting items will likely require this for macro rotations to work. The second item on our list is Condensed Solution. Similar to the Sublime and Immutable Solution from Shadowbringers and Endwalker respectively, this item is likely to be used in the next set. The expected quantity is around 117, though I would probably add a few extra for safety. These items can be bought with Orange Scrip now, and as usual, the rarefied tacos are the recommended collectible. Next up, Purple Scrip Collectibles. In Shadowbringers, it was Slither Sand. In Endwalker, it was Grip Gel. And this time around, we can expect another repeat offender of destroying our Scrip wallets. The new item will likely cost 500 Scrip each, with an expected quantity required of 117 per full crafter and gatherer gear set. Mathing that out gets us to 58,500 purple Scrip needed, though as usual I would add a safety factor to that to make sure we have enough to cover any variance. The item I've been storing up for this is the rarefied Rakaznar War Scythe. The Precrafts are relatively cheap and easy to obtain, and I had a lot of them on hand when I began prepping, so that's the item you'll see on the list. However, feel free to use any purple Scrip item you're comfortable with. I do recommend using one of the Dawntrail ones though, rather than one of the lower value Endwalker items, since it'll take up less retainer and inventory space. As a reminder, you can craft these now and store them in your retainers to have them ready on patch day. And finally, the last item we can prep before patch is Materia. This is an entirely new set of both crafter and gatherer gear, so unfortunately this means the required quantities are likely to be pretty high. However, since it is an entirely new set, it's generally pretty predictable which ones will be in high demand. The suspects this time around are going to be lower level CP materia from Endwalker and current tier control and craftsmanship materia for crafters. On the gathering side, it'll be mostly GP and gathering materia from Dawntrail. There will be some perception materia needed as well, but those will be in lower quantities. Because of the unpredictability of gear stats and material limits, it's hard to tell how many lower level materia we can get away with versus how many slots need to have current tier versions. Because of this, I'm including primarily Dawntrail tiers only in my list, with the only exception being the Endwalker CP plus 8s that I'm including because the new tools will likely only need those. You can find the quantities and types of materia I recommend having on hand in my team craft list below. As a reminder, Island Sanctuary remains a great way to get Endwalker tier materia, and Cosmic Exploration has materia you can get in exchange for credits in Dawntrail. Otherwise, crafting collectibles for crafters and spirit bonding for gatherers by visiting the current legendary nodes will be your best bet for getting materia. If you're unfamiliar with farming materia through spirit bonding, I've included a link to the Teamcraft Gathering Melding Guide in the video description below. And that covers everything on the list. Before we wrap up though, I want to go over some new items we're expecting to see, and some items that we're not expecting to see. First up is Aether Sand. Patch 7.3 is expected to drop a new type of Aether Sand that will be needed in the new gear. Because of this, I recommend having a current tier Gatherer gear set ready to go beforehand. Current Aether Sand will be retired, so no more Sun Guilt Aether Sand except for use in the current potions. Secondly, a new item or two should be getting added to the current legendary nodes. Nothing much to add here, just a heads up. This is likely to be used in a pre-craft for the new gear items. And lastly, for a couple of common questions I see about items we won't need, we should be done with books for the rest of the expansion, so there won't be any need to hoard any extra collectible items for Scrip for those. There also likely won't be any items that need orange Scrip this time around, so you can save all of your retainer space for purple Scrip collectibles instead. And that should cover everything. As a reminder, you can find my full list of prep items in a link in the video description. Feel free to make a copy to edit and use for yourself. As usual, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them below. Thanks so much for watching, and see you next time.